smooth brain food, where I tell you what's yummy and nutritious for your head. Today, however, I want to relate a few tales of woe in my search for good books to discuss and inform others about. This is a show about good books, but like any search through any medium of entertainment, you're bound to find as much bad as you do good, maybe even more so. And what's worse, you can end up wasting money on it. Yes, this is the digital age, where you can download anything from movies to games and music for free. However, I feel it's important to support what I think is good, especially books. However, sometimes I'll dive blindly into a book just because it looks good on the surface. For example, let's take Julie Klausner's recently released book, I Don't Care About Your Band, which is supposed to be a comedic tale about a rather horrible dating life. On the surface, it sounds like it could be good as we follow her along in dealing with nice guys and jerks alike, but the mood was quickly spoiled when I read this sentence in the intro, which I shall quote for you directly. I love men so much I never once considered what it'd be like to take a break from dating them, or to focus my mind on other things besides falling in love with one, or to look for work in a field that's more female-dominated, or anything else lesbians suggest you do after a guy breaks your heart. You can pretty much well guess what word it was that hung over my head as I continued on reading, however reluctantly. I did spend $10 on my Kindle app to download it to my tablet, but any suggestion that I continued reading quickly dispelled when the author revealed her major daddy issues. What I thought was going to be satirical and funny ended up being sad, whiny, and tiring. In fact, let's look back at that quote and ponder just why the author decided to brandish an entire minority group as being the only ones to suggest getting a life, and just why that suggestion is bad. It was mind-boggling and completely out of left field. Why only lesbians? Wouldn't anyone else suggest taking a break and getting a life rather than trying to land a man? Is the author's life really that sad and shallow that she doesn't feel satisfied without a man? Just because of how big a mind whammy it was, it took me some time to figure it out. And about the best that I can say is that the author is in love with finding a man. Finding one is her entire purpose, and suggest otherwise means that you are anti-man. And who else, in the minds of ignorant, bigoted, overprivileged morons, is more anti-man than lesbians? Well, aside from feminists. I do wish that I could just delete this from my tablet and get my money back, but it did give me the hard-earned lesson of downloading the sample first before buying the book. Another example of a book that was money wasted was StarCraft Ghost Nova. Now, novels based on franchises of movies, games, or comic books can be an incredibly mixed bag, and I bought a number of them over the years, just because I love to read so much. This one I picked up a few years ago. 2006 it was released. The Marvel novels of the 90s were fantastic reads, with books written by Diane Duane, Peter David, and Greg Cox. Even a decade later, I still go back and reread these stories because they are such good superhero stories, which is really surprising considering the dreck that came out during the 90s. Now, a few months ago, I picked up Gears of War, Coalition's End by Karen Traviss, and I was pleasantly surprised to find a book that greatly deepened the characters, making them into people that I genuinely liked, almost as though they were, why, real people, instead of the caricatures that the games make them out to be. On the other hand, it was steeped in patriarchy, with the notion that men who fought in war were brave and noble, and it was their duty to defend the women, and thus it was the women's duty to protect and raise the kids. Overall, kind of a mixed bag, this one. As for StarCraft Ghost Nova, considering that it was written by Keith R.A. DeCandidio, whose previous credits include writing X-Men comics, well, I got so damn mad at this book that I threw it across the room at the midway point. Nova, for those of you who aren't StarCraft fans, is the stealth sniper unit character in the latest installment of the series. Her origin is more angst-ridden than anything I've ever read in the last few years, wherein her blossoming powers, since she is an Esper or a psychic, psychokinetic, something like that, not only do her blossoming powers kill a bunch of bad guys, but they also end up wiping out her entire family. She ends up homeless, captured by a drug dealer and pimp, and then taken in by Dominion forces, wherein her entire memory is wiped so that she can become a better weapon. That's right, everything she went through, everything the reader had to put up with, was worth absolutely nothing in the end. I didn't find this out until I had skipped to the end, because I was so pissed at seeing this character drag through the mud so much. I see enough of this crap happen to women in superhero comics, and here I had to see it happen to someone in StarCraft too. It's like I can't get away from this shit. And what's more, the cynical side of me points out that since Nova is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman, she was saved from facing even more punishment, whereas had she been a woman of color, she would have faced even worse. In the end, I was so mad that I wrote the author an email, which was, while passionate, rather diplomatic, and pointed out why I felt so mad with his work. I didn't resort to name-calling or anything of the sort because I was mad at his work and not him. His reply started with, "I'm sorry you feel that way," putting the onus on me for my reaction rather than his own work. This is something that Dan DiDio and Joe Quesada excel at, and I immediately felt no more compunction to talk with the man. I also have a digital comic that I wish to talk about, but it's one that I do with great difficulty. I am talking about, of course, Gail Simone's Batgirl. This is not an easy thing for me to do, because I love Gail Simone as a writer and as a person. She's one of the few people in DC who's willing to admit when she's wrong. She has called DC out on their lack of diversity. She discusses how to improve and increase the awareness of minorities in comics through good writing, and has done as much herself, and she is, overall, a really awesome lady. Also, according to many blogs that I've read, Gail Simone was running around doing damage control for DC during the build-up to the New 52 launch. Now, while people like Dan DiDio and Jeff Jones would rather belittle fans for their concerns about the lack of diversity in comics as well as behind the scenes in making them, Gail Simone actively engaged the fans, talking with and listening to them about the concerns that they had. She also went to great lengths to reassure fans that she would treat Barbara Gordon with all the respect that she deserves. And she has. From all the blogs that I've read, the reboot of Barbara Gordon as Batgirl, and trust me, the whole new DC 52 lineup is a reboot, not a relaunch as the higher-ups in DC would tell you, has been incredible, with the comic garnering a number of positive reviews all over the net. My problem with this comic is that I can't forget who Barbara Gordon was before. I knew she was Batgirl, and I've seen her as Batgirl in the Batman animated series. But to me, she's always been Oracle. She was the information hub of the superhero world, supporting entire teams such as the Justice League and the Justice Society of America, as well as leading her own group of superheroes, the Birds of Prey. She was a visibly disabled superhero who led a full life, and whose disability was a part of her, and not her sole defining trait. Thus, unlike my previous examples, this is really more about me than the comic. I have been reading it, and it does have an interesting story. And while Gail Simone finally has a good artist in Adrian Sif, the Batgirl costume is a mix of all the previous Batgirl costumes, from the original to Cass Cain and Stephanie Brown. It has an interesting story and a unique villain for Barbara to fight with. Also, like Batwoman, it's not tied into that stupid Batman Incorporated crap. I just can't ignore where Barbara Gordon was before as Oracle. Finally, I can't end this episode of Money Wasted without talking about the first 2 volumes of Scott Pilgrim that I own. I've said pretty much everything I want to say about this piece of crap series. That means that there's finally something left for me to do. You know what? Hell with it. You're coming along too, buddy. Humpty-dum. This. This. Oh, and this. Bye-bye. There we go. That is what you call good kindling up here. I hope that everyone enjoyed today's episode, even if it ended in something of a downer. Well, except for that whole burning thing. I enjoyed that. And so I like to say this: if you know of a book, past or present, that you would like to tell me about or that you want reviewed, please email me at my address, bigwired@hotmail.com, or just visit my website at kazai5.wordpress.com. I'm here to boost the signal on good books and to inform others about them. That's what this show is all about. I'm Triple J. That's all I got left to say. Take care.